Well, hello and welcome here to Guadalajara. We're getting ready here this afternoon for the Audi-Scappino Classic Cup. We're here in Guadalajara Country Club. We saw the Longines FEI World Cup jump in Guadalajara yesterday, and this is the final competition of what has been a great few days. It is a jump-off competition, so any tie for first place after round number one will come back for a jump-off against the clock. I'm Adam Cromarty. Sarah Shearing sitting alongside me this afternoon. Sarah, you've been jumping here this weekend. How have you found the experience so far?
I've really enjoyed being here in Guadalajara. The courses have been great. The footing is phenomenal. They have really done a good job with the short show, and hopefully everyone will have a nice track today.
So this is a 145. Everything's being international this week. Sometimes we have national and international. Do you think it helps that everyone's international here?
I do. I think having the whole show being an FEI and one ring horse show for sure makes it a lot easier to organize and follow along the way.
Well, it's a real interesting field here this afternoon. We can see the runners and riders on your screens now, and there's some riders perhaps you haven't heard of, some that you will have that are also bringing some nice young horses through here, but the standard's actually been quite high this week. Aristoteles, that's a horse that's been going well. Federico Fernandez, he's got two horses coming forward, Juan Manuel Lizardo. Antonio Maura, a man who jumps all over North America, up at Spruce Meadows and stuff. Kelly Rose from the USA, who now based down here in Mexico. It's a total of about 48 or 49 starters coming forward here in the first round. Sarah, you had a chance to walk the course as well. What was your kind of reflection after having a wander around?
It follows much like the rest of Guillermo's courses. Everything is very flowy and really nice start to jump one, gallop over to two, nice and loose to three. I thought it was very straightforward. I think we won't see many problems today.
So if we've got about 48, how many clears do you think we're going to have? Your crystal ball out.
I would say, I know he usually shoots for 8. I would say probably 10 to 12.
10 to 12, I think that's a good number as well. Well, just starting the warm-up, they're getting ready, making their final preparations to come forward. We are live on FEI TV, FEI YouTube, and also the Horse Network across North America. And you can get involved with the conversation as well on the Horse Network. We'll keep an eye there. If you've got any questions you want to ask Sarah, she'd love to be quizzed. Wouldn't you, Sarah?
Oh, yes. Yes. Can't wait.
And we're seeing some more riders this year coming down. You know, you've got yourselves, you've got other people that have joined us from the US. Why do you think more riders are coming here?
I think now that you're able to see what the horse show brings to the table, I know a few years ago no one had even any idea what to expect with Mexico, but with Noel's article last year and a little bit of publicity, people felt more comfortable knowing what they were going to expect to find in Mexico, and for sure the World Cup. I know a lot of people came down here trying to get some points to get ahead, trying to get to Paris. And
outside the show, I mean, the actual town itself is quite nice, and the food's great.
Everything. The restaurants are amazing. Right next to the hotel is a row of unbelievable restaurants. Everyone that we went to was just as good, if not better, than the night before.
And when I get to Palm Beach, I'm going to have to be in the gym again. It's been a bad week. The hospitality here in the restaurants outside.
Truly, truly.
Well, just a couple of minutes away now from starting here. We have had a look at the track quickly with Sarah. I'll talk you around it as well when the first one comes on. But they're going to be travelling at about 375 metres a minute today, and Guillermo and his team have measured this course at 480 metres. So that means time allowed will be set at 77 seconds. Under international rules, if they do cross over that time allowed, they'll be assessed one time fault for every commenced 4 seconds. Time limit's 154, but 13 numbered obstacles and 16 jumping efforts is what they're going to be faced with as they come forward for round one of the Audi-Scappino Classic. 51 is the confirmed number that's coming forward in this jump-off competition. And I think Sarah's spot on. I think we'll be seeing about 10 or 12 going forward through into that jump-off against the clock.
Well,
our first one then making their entrance, coming through that Longines archway as we get underway. It is the Audi-Scappino Classic, and it will be Sofia Loria who becomes our first to go, representing Mexico with Gigolo. This is a horse that jumped very nicely for her the other day. Of course, Sofia, a rider who not only jumps here in Mexico and North America as well, and also travels over to Europe during the summertime with her string of horses. She comes in and has a little look around, and we'll take a look at that course as she comes on track. How much time do you normally use, Sarah, when you come in?
I risk it a lot. I come right down to the wire. I like to come in, walk, and take a deep breath, and go over my exact plan before I begin. Make sure I know exactly what my plan is.
Well, there's been a change of plan here. In fact, it is Roberto Zarubinen, Fine Flower, that gets us underway here. So she's had that tone. The countdown runs. 45 seconds is the amount of time that they have to cross that start line. So let's take a look at the course as she comes towards the first fence. And they start over in Oxford, quite ascending and quite nice to get her underway. Now she lands here, it's left-handed, down towards quite a delicate vertical at fence number 2, and as they land, it's round about a short 7-stride distance down towards quite a big powerful Oxer, the orange and white at fence 3. From here it's right-handed around the bottom corner. They come down over this Mexico Oxer, fairly square, and then as they land there, it's a nice forward 6 strides down towards this FEM double, upright to upright, 1 non-jumping stride coming through that distance. Right-handed on about 8 or 9 strides brings them down towards the horse heads at fence 6, and then they bend up past the in-out gate round towards fence number 7, that vertical just off the corner. Takes that down, so sits on the 4 as we come down towards the triple combination. It's Oxer in, 2 strides, upright, 1 stride, and then back out. Round towards fence number 9, another related distance. This is 9, 4 strides brings them down to the Longines at 10. 3 efforts left from home at this stage as she comes right-handed. Bit of a roll back here, and these blocks on top are really delicate when she comes towards this wall. And then we come towards the final line. It's the North American League Oxer that she finds at fence number 12. Lands there. Bit of a short 6-stride distance as she comes down to really delicate plank on top. So she will finish on 4 jumping over that time of 77 as well. So 1 time fault, 78.36. We've had a chance to see the first one round, Sarah. What did you think?
I thought she did a great job. Other than the vertical, I think she just cut in a little bit on the horse's shoulder. Had a little trouble, but I think the horse jumped really well. She should be happy with that.
Well, 5 faults is what our first one finishes with. It looks like we now revert back to Sophia Laria and Gigolo. Got a couple of really nice horses on the circuit at the moment. Do you think when you're jumping at this level you need a couple of horses on the circuit?
Absolutely. It's really, really difficult to do with just 1 horse. It's too much pressure all the time. If you want to show enough to get competitive, it's too much pressure on your horse.
When it comes to world rankings as well, I mean, everyone just seems to be jumping all the time now, so you do need that number.
You absolutely need a string to spread it out. You can't, if you like your horse, you can't jump it enough, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sophia has some great experience. As you mentioned before, you know, she's been jumping up at Spruce Meadows all over North America, over in Europe. You've jumped in Europe as well. Do you think that's important as well, to get over there and get some different experience?
I think in the past it really used to be important, but as America is catching up, I don't think it's as different as it used to be.
Probably the North American League's helping with that as well.
Hugely. I like the 7 there as well, to the double verticals.
You can tell you're a rider because you count. Every rider that sits in a commentary booth counts. You won't be able to stop it. It's a rider thing. Nicely through the combination. Are you constantly thinking about the time allowed as you're jumping around?
Unfortunately, I am not, but most riders should. I do tend to have a time fault here and there.
Well, just that 1 rail coming down, so she does finish on 475.10, and you know how frustrating it can be having that last or second last fence down.
Especially the last class of the week.
Yeah. The horse jumped around nicely.
She's had a pretty good week as well.
Already lots of people joining us on Horse Network Live. We've got Paddy from New York City, Gannett Hayek from South Haven, Michigan, Isabel is in Kansas, and Michelle from Central Texas as well. Don't forget, you can get involved with the conversation if you're listening on Horse Network, and you can ask Sarah questions, you can ask questions about the riders, and we'll try and answer them, or we'll make something up. We've seen 2 so far. 48 combinations left to come forward. Nicole Mayer Roberto now with Hercule representing Mexico. It looks like Guilherme Jorge, our course designer, in consultation with the ground jury, has actually extended the time allowed now to 79 seconds. Would you think it looked tight?
I thought the first girl was pretty efficient and maybe should not have had a time clock.
So that means both Roberta and Sophia now sit on 4. Sophia being the fastest of the 4s on 75.10.
I see the 60. Jumped it well.
Walking these distances, do you keep your horse in mind?
Always. I have a different plan for every horse that I have. Some are better when you add, some are better when you kick up.
She recovered really well there, didn't she?
Yeah.
Horse was so overbent as he did the approach.
Looks like we lost a stirrup.
You know all about losing stirrups.
I am well versed in the stirrup loss, yes.
Do you want to tell your Vegas story?
The moral of the story is replace old tack.
Yeah. And don't be sentimental.
Don't be sentimental about your equipment.
Yeah, for those that were watching Vegas, you might remember Sarah. But you did cross the finish line, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I qualified for the World Cup.
Yeah.
It was in the qualification Thursday class.
And did you stay on?
I stayed on.
There you go.
What a shame. This horse is giving a good effort.
Well, let's take a look at the score. It's 105.72, so it's 8 for jumping. A little bit of time as well to bring that total up to 11. We saw Zemina Milmo actually stopping to take their stirrup back. Do you ever get your students, obviously you teach a lot, do you ever get them to jump without stirrups?
Frequently. They know that they are not allowed to stop if they lose a stirrup. There is no circling allowed.
Well, plenty of talent still to come forward here. This looks like Patricio Pascual, who might be coming next with Bam Bam.
Bam Bam's having a decent week. Just out of the ribbons in the 135 and the 140. Hoping for a clear today.
There's been another change of plan. I think this is Miguel Maron and BV Projects Edinburgh. A few changes at the top of the start list, so hopefully we'll be back on track now. This is a 4-star event here this week. He was actually here at the 2-star last week. This is a horse that Tom Brinkman of the Netherlands used to ride. And some good results though. Finished top 6 in the 3-star Grand Prix at Mexico City towards the end of last year. He's an 18-year-old with heartbreaker lines. Is there any stallions in particular you look for?
I love Heartbreaker. I'm crazy about Verdi right this second, as being the sire of my very good horse. I've had quite a few. Anything with Kidan blood, I really enjoy riding.
So it looks like it's just fighting a little bit. Finishes on 4 jumping, but the new time allowed of 79 seconds has come into play. 4 jumping and 1 time fault there for Miguel, who finishes on 80.37. When you're riding, do you count the strides as well through the racing distances?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you are counting in your head.
I count every step of the way. Often I'll even count some turns.
Oh, okay.
Helps me stand in the time allowed.
It's always part of the test. Well, we have seen a total of 4 combinations come forward. We've got 2 on 4, 1 on 5, and 1 on 11. Plenty more combinations to come forward as Nicole Mayer Roberto comes with Hercule. This horse is amazingly white. The grooms work very hard on this one.
Absolutely.
You get any top tips on keeping them clean?
Nothing great.
Get a good groom.
A lot of quicksilver.
Yeah. Working hard, just keep that nice rhythm.
Seems to be hard to get straight to that jump.
Seems difficult because every time she takes a check, she gets its head in her face.
Yeah. Kind of stops moving behind a little bit.
Drifting towards the left.
No stir up again.
Total of 8 faults it is then, 77.65 for Nicole, and Hercule drops down into 4th place at this very early stage. I still think we're going to get our 8 to 10 clears though.
I do think so as well.
A lot of nice horses still to come. This is Bam Bam. This is Patricio Pascual from Mexico. He actually jumped the 130s and 135s at this event last year when the horse was a 7-year-old. It's 8 now. He was really unlucky with his top horse Babel yesterday in the World Cup. This one is produced up through the young horse system here in Mexico. As a champion as a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Just didn't quite work out the way he was hoping that it would.
Amy Lee Bradeen's just messaged to say you guys are great. You've got fans already.
Oh, thanks, Amy. And that'll be our retirement for Patricio for the day.
Yeah, just not his day. He's had a bit of a bad weekend actually. That's Bam Bam. Really nice young horse though, and definitely one to keep an eye on. But just not his day. 2 tied at the top on 4 faults then at this stage, and of course under the rules if we didn't get any clears we'd then go to a jump off with those tied for first place, which would be our 2 4 faulters. But with 45 left to come, I would doubt that's going to happen. Remitz Delphi's next. Rodrigo Lambry sits in the saddle. 2 top 10 finishes with this horse here last week. The 10-year-old KWPN by Zurich, carrying heartbreaker lines once again. He's had a good week. He's had a couple of wins, different horses.
He had a one unlucky rail yesterday, right?
That's right.
First round. Everyone had banked on him to win.
Yeah, he won the qualifier for the qualifier. I think it was this division he won in the other day as well.
I think you're right.
With this horse. Mexican athletes that travel quite a bit. Maybe looking ahead towards the Nations Cup in Ocala very soon.
Seems to have a string of some amazing horses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does a great job with them as well.
When you're planning your shows, do you look for Nations Cups and stuff? Do you plan to get on those teams?
This year is the first year I applied to be on the developing Nations Cup team for the US, so we'll see what happens.
want to jinx them, but I think this could be our first clear. Using lots of room there to get a nice line.
Beautifully.
10 seconds to go home. I think you should be okay with the time. Down towards the final fence, and there's our first clear. 75.50, Rodrigo Lambri, Ramets Delphi for Brazil, gives us clear round number 1 in the Audi-Scappino Classic. He made it look easy.
He really did.
Of course, when we get to that jump off, they're going to come back in the same order that they jumped clear in the first round. That means that he'll actually be first to go. So that will certainly add the pressure on for the rest. Another man with a cracking string at the moment, Juan Jose Zendias. This is just nice, Van Het Eidehoff. Of course, it was produced in Belgium. He's been competing this one for about a year and a half now. So his top horse at the moment is Tino La Chapelle. Won the Grand Prix here last week. How much time goes into planning your competition calendar? It must be quite difficult.
It's very difficult. We have a lot of kids that ride with us at home. So not only do I have to try to accommodate my top horse, make sure that he stays on top, and in the big classes, the right classes for him. I have a lot of young horses, and then a lot of children's and junior jumpers as well. So you have to schedule sometimes around the kids' schedules, and then as well as where we need to be with our good horses. Horse is giving a great effort today.
Really nice.
Just nice, it's just nice.
75.19, we're guaranteed a jump off now. 1 for Brazil and Rodrigo Lambre, and now Juan Jose Zendias of Mexico guarantees that jump off here in the Audi-Scappino. 8 combinations gone so far, 42 left to come forward. That's Andrea Vega Brockman with Moscaritaro standing by, about to get underway. This one was just playing about a little bit when it first came into the arena. It looks to be settling down a little bit now though. She actually used this venue to bring it out for the first time as an 8-year-old. That was a few years ago now. Now 13 gelding. That's an Oldenburg by Balabadu Roe. I think I'm going to get this name wrong, but Julia is watching from Chester Riding Club. Which is something to do with you, I think.
Yes, that is our farm. Julie is a very good customer of ours and a good friend.
Just playing around when it came in, and still a little bit. She's trying to settle it down though.
She had a great result on Wednesday, and then a little bit of a tough go of things in the qualifier on Thursday. Chose to, instead of jumping the World Cup yesterday, try to have a nice round today in 145.
Up until this week, this horse had a bit of time off. The last time we saw it jump internationally was November last year in Valvanera in their Grand Prix. Really fighting as she came down there. I don't think she could have done any more, really.
Oh, it's a shame. The rest of the course was quite nice.
Yeah, you can see her shaking her head as she comes across the finish line there. Finishes on for 74.35 for Andrea Vega Brockman, representing Mexico. Megan Riemann says, these are my favourite announcers. Need to start up a fan club, I think. Staying on the 2 clears then. Rodrigo Lambri, Juan Jose Zandias, 1 for Brazil, 1 for Mexico. A long way to go here in the first round. If you have just joined us and you're watching on Horse Network, you can get involved with the conversation. Or of course you may be watching on FEI YouTube or FEI TV. Great to have you with us still here. If you have just joined us, it's the Audi-Scappino Classic. It is a jump-off competition and the time allowed sets at 79 seconds. Francois Estevez and Florentino next to come forward. Is in fact Antonio Cedraui and Aristoteles. Combination that's been together 4 years. It's all over Mexico. During the 5-star Spruce Meadows Summer Series as well. If you come a bit later in the class, do you take the opportunity to go and watch the first few jump?
I always do, yes. I prefer it. However, if I watch too many, I start making myself too nervous.
Okay.
Yesterday I watched up until I think 3 were clear, and I had to go and try to occupy my mind with something else.
The horse he jumped in the World Cup here last year, finished 11th. With the horses that are regularly jumping 160, do you ever drop them down to 145 as a little sort of sweetener?
Of course, it depends on the horse and how he's been doing. But oftentimes I'll take my good horse Dantes and I'll do a smaller class just to work on rideability. Make him add a couple of places. He has a tendency to get a little strong. But if you ever have one that really tries, I have an 8-year-old that is very careful, and sometimes I'll drop her down just to get her really confident again, not over jumping so much.
His arms and elbows into the wall. Still just on that first part of the combination, so 4 at this stage. And it will be a 4-fault round there. Another one shaking their head as they cross the finish line. Finishes on 4, 77-73. Of course, the best of the rest, the 4-fault rounds, might just earn some money. He's the 3rd fastest of the 4 clears that we have there. 77-73. Fastest 4-faulter at the moment, sitting on 74-35. Francois Estevez, Florentino now. Top horse at the moment is probably Veracruz Lucia. It's been really consistent, but this one he's only had jumping internationally since about September last year.
Source had a great round on Thursday. It was clear in the 140.
Enjoy producing young horses?
It's probably my favorite thing to do, yeah. Quite a few at the moment, maybe too many.
But the horse you jumped in the World Cup yesterday, you had since it was 7?
Yeah, since he was 7. He's the oldest one that I've bought in a long time.
Again, it depends on the horse, but how often would you jump them at home when you weren't competing?
Usually once a week, never more than twice.
And do you tend to stick to sort of schooling exercises and grids and stuff?
A lot of gymnastic work.
Yeah. Very
rarely will I do a course. Be okay on time.
So 1 effort left. Clears Beautiful. That last fence. It is 76-73. Clear round number 3. Now 2 for Brazil heading through. Francois Estevez. Clear in round number 1. Florentino. Really nice 8-year-old. He's in good company though. Rodrigo Lambri's through. Juan Jose Zandias as well. 11 gone so far. Juan Carlos Alvarez de Castillo now for Mexico with Premier. Took this horse to the Central American Games last year. Part of the team that took a silver medal there. He's competing here with it last week in the 2-star. Finished 8th. It's quite a unique style.
Very. She's a trier though.
Mm. Do you have a certain type of horse that you always go for, or do you just look for ability?
Mostly ability, yeah.
This little horse just tried her heart out all the way around. Clears the last, and it is just one down. 73.81 is the time, so it is the fastest of our 4 falters at the moment. Takes them into 4th place, just behind our 3 clears at this stage in round 1 of the Audi-Scappino Classic. Shalaklesia now, Carla Bushmalina. Nope, change of plan again. Juan Carlos, Martin Del Campo and Paddington. Lots of changes in the order today. They've been together since 2016. It's an old rider, Germany's David Will. Again, looking back to that 2-star last week, they jumped double clear and earned their first international win as a partnership.
Did that really well.
There can be a variety of reasons for them changing order, can't they? You know, tack or shoes coming off, or
Is looking on point today.
becoming really consistent. Went well at Spruce Meadows last summer, finished top 10 in the 145 division there. Really careful line down to the last. 77.52. Juan Carlos, Martin Del Campo and Paddington representing Mexico and earning their place to return for that jump off against the clock. We're up to 4 clears at this stage. About 31% of those coming forward so far have remained cleared in round number 1. Still plenty more to see though. Still think we're going to get around about 8 to 10 clears, maybe 1 or 2 more even. We'll have to wait and see. Antonio Mauro then next to go. Jacques Stara, another one representing Mexico here. Tony, who's competed at Olympic level at the World Equestrian Games in the past 2. Jumped in the Grand Prix here last week. getting to know. He ridden it for the first time here last year. Do you have a set time period when you get a new horse before you take it out to a competition, or does it just depend?
It totally depends. Every horse is so unique. There's some you get and you just click with immediately, and everything is very easy. And others need a little more of a relationship. Looks like a big scopy kind of horse, making the jumps look easy.
Chris Toomey says, "Go Sarah Shearing."
Thanks, Chris.
Forward well. I think you could feel that about 3 strides out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comes round towards the final line, recovers well into the wall, but in the end finishes on 4. Antonio Maurer of Mexico with Shaq Stara 76.85, and will finish on 4. 4 clears and 6 on 4 faults at this stage. Carla Bush-Molina now with Shellac Lucia. Has been really consistent recently. I know she thinks a lot of this one.
It's a little spooky to jump one. Jumped a little high in the end.
Yeah, just sort of hung in the air for a second or two. Or maybe felt like a second or two.
Yeah.
So when they hang in the air like that, is the best thing to do is they land just to kind of sit up and then bring them back? Or
again, it so depends on the horse and why. They're hanging up in the air. Sometimes some of them really need a ton of leg, gallop at the next one so they jump across it, start getting a little more confident, and then some of them get a lot more confident if you take a hold of their mouth and let them know that you're there to support them.
Well, I think Carla, yeah, she's given her signal to the ground jury and has elected to retire today with Shellac Lucia. Going very well recently, just a little bit unlucky today. Again, that depends on the horse, whether you continue if it needs the ring experience or whether you decide just to call it a day.
Absolutely.
So staying on those 4 clears, if you have just joined us, a quick recap. We've got Rodrigo Lambre through, Juan Jose Zendias, Francois Estevez, and Juan Carlo Martin Del Campo. That's the clears at this stage of play. About 35 partnerships still to come through. Federico Fernandez now with Picasso. He's got a couple of horses in this one today. He's been around the sport for so long now. He's been to 3 Olympics, 5 World Equestrian Games and a World Cup final. Some really nice lines in this horse. Got Cassini in there, Contender as well. He's had a busy few months. He jumped this horse at Spruce Meadows, then went on a bit of a European tour. We saw him at Dublin and Zandhoven and Guillaume.
I've been watching this horse all week. I really like him.
Is this one you'd like to take home?
Absolutely.
road for that. Still stays on just the 4. Touch coming in. And clears that last fence, so finishes on 4. 76.28 is the time for Federico Fernandez, and Pegaso drops him into 8th place at this stage. Still on the 4 clears. Mauricio Ortega now with the rally. So only this horse's 6th or 7th international event. He's already jumped a couple of clears though in that short time. This horse was bred in the Ukraine. Where do you go for your horses? Have you got a specific country or area or dealer that you go to?
We have been using Vincent Lambrecht in Belgium, and we've gotten quite a few nice horses from him. I've gotten some horses from Germany as well. Really all over. Depends on the horse, what you find.
She's not quite listening today. Yeah, he sticks his hand up and says, that's enough, thanks. Mauricio Ortega choosing to retire with Rally. That's quite interesting, because as I mentioned, it's only his 6th or 7th international competition. I suppose it depends what you feel, but there might have been a temptation there just to use it as a bit of a schooling round after he'd had those rails.
A lot of times if a horse starts having uncommon rails down, you wonder if maybe something hurts, or I generally don't finish around on a horse that I believe in a lot, worrying if maybe something's wrong.
Yeah.
We need to fix it home.
Ricardo Reteg and Clapton now, our 18th competitor on course. The top 3 finish already after about 8 competitions as a pairing. Not off to the best start there. Takes that front rail a little bit deep into the first.
I don't know which is worse, the first jump or the last.
I think it depends on the competition. I suppose if you're in a competition with not too many and you have the first, at least you can gallop around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try for fastest 4.
Yeah. Ricardo's an interesting one because he jumped quite a bit and then had an 8-year break. No idea why. If you do have the first, is it kind of prey on your mind all the way around, or do you just concentrate on the job in hand?
Concentrate on the job in hand, and like you said, maybe try for fastest 4. I think the disappointment of thinking that you're going to win and knocking the last one down is quite the heartbreak. It's a shame the horse is jumping very well everywhere else.
Yep, clears the last jump round nicely. If only he'd had that rail in the warm-up. Gives the horse a pat though and finishes on 4. 78.28 is the time. Heads down into 11th place. He's the 2nd slowest to the 4 faults. Fastest to the 4s at the moment, Juan Carlos Alvarez. 4 clears. That's what we sit on at this stage. Churro Navarro now with Questina. So you mentioned earlier you only jump your horses about once a week at home. What's your riding plan like for the rest of the time?
A lot of flat work. We really work on flat work a lot. I think you can really get the horses fit that way without having to jump too much. Try to save their legs.
And for those that are just starting out, what sort of flat work are you doing? You're not just trotting around in circles.
Not just trotting around in circles. You work on the rideability a lot of transitions. Of course, every horse has different things that need some work. Lateral movement, just making sure they're light, carrying themselves. And then we always try to do a day of trail riding or something relaxing for the horse.
Yeah, fit perfect all the way around. 73.80. Congratulations there to Chira Navarro, representing Mexico, and gives us that 5th clear. Going to be an exciting jump off when we get there. Looks happy with that, deserves to be. So 5 clears at this stage.
Emily Rose
represents the United States of America with Damore from Second Life Z. I think Kelly's based out here now, isn't she?
She is, yes. She moved here, I think, 4 years ago from California.
What inspired the move, do you know?
She was telling me the other day, I believe, a family member fell ill with her husbands, and they came and ended up staying.
I think I could live here quite happily if I spoke Spanish.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Beautiful city.
Need to take Spanish lessons.
Horse here. I've seen quite a few horses come from this breeder that I really like. Up there. Read that really well.
So when you go to look for a horse, what sort of qualities are you looking for?
Athleticism first and foremost, you know. The ability to do the job.
Yeah.
And then the desire to do it.
Couple left. I think she just touched a block on top and it moved slightly, but it's going to stay.
Close to the time. Ah.
Just over. 79.96. Clear jumping, 1-time fault, so that will take her into 6th place. You can see the disappointment on her face there. Jump round nicely. Maybe just used a bit too much room. It's a big old arena, this.
It is, it is.
Really got to plan your route.
And the shape, it's really easy to get lost in some of the corners.
It's quite nice to see a ring that's not rectangular or square.
I love it, and I think it makes for some great courses this week. A lot of angles that you couldn't normally do.
Yeah, absolutely. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, Cicanta, standing by and about to get underway. It's an old rider, Nicholas Pizarro's been jumping together since October last year. Eduardo knows what it's like to get a time fault because he did it last week in the Grand Prix with this horse. It's Oldenburg by Sir Shutterfly. Cantos is in there as well. Sort of got a bit of a different martingale. It's got that bib. What does that do?
It's a yoke. I've used it for horses that, for turning purposes. You see it on young horses a lot.
Clear so far, 3 efforts left. Just that oxer, and then down towards this plank. Yeah, nicely done. 76-23, Eduardo Sanchez Navarro gets that cheesy 80s music, and that means that he has gone clear. And we're up to 6 now. 6 clears moving through to that jump off. I don't know if you could see on camera there as he came down to the last, but those planks are so delicate because they are planks, and those cups are so flat, and it's a tiny plank as well. I think you just have to breathe on that and it would come down. 6 very nice combinations heading through. Carmi Perez of Mexico. Harik CR. 17 years of old, this rider. Picked up a silver medal at the Young Riders last year with a horse called Contessa. Here's a new ride for her, just come over from Europe. It's a German bred horse by Christo 5. The standard at Young Riders now is just getting higher and higher. It's a real great training ground. Centre part. Did you use the under-25s when you were young?
I competed in one class of the U25s in Palm Beach. I didn't quite have a horse that was good enough for it.
Seems to be getting more and more popular now.
Absolutely. Back when I was in the age bracket, it wasn't nearly what it is today.
Before you got old.
Before I got old.
Well, she's just 17 and she gave it a great ride, but has 2 down, finishes on 8. 75-26 is the time there for Carmi representing Mexico. Still 29 combinations to see, a very well supported competition here. They're just going to see another few and then they will take a break though for a little bit of ring maintenance. At the moment 6 clears. Alfonso Roma Garza with Camille Lucia. He's ridden at Olympic level in the World Equestrian Games a few years ago. This is a new ride for him, but it used to be ridden by Alberto Michan and then Jérôme Doubledam as well. These horses have changed hands a couple of times. Do you tend to produce yours to keep or to sell on, or does it just kind of depend on what happens?
Unfortunately, the majority of my horses are for sale. I prefer to keep them, but it's not a great business model.
Yeah, I think unless you've got owners or
yeah, exactly.
You're very fortunate and rich, it does become part of the business.
It does. And it's wonderful to see a horse that you've produced go on to its next rider and have a successful career.
Maybe in the future we'll be seeing at the Olympics. This is an old rider, Sarah Shearings, produced the horse. Could this be another? Let's keep an eye on the time. 79 time allowed, just over. 79.82. You can see the look of disappointment as he looks up towards the sky and leaves us on one time fault today. Alfonso Romagarza representing Mexico with Camilo Lecia.
I think a lot of riders get sucked into giving a lot of extra space for that wall.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one area on course where you can either make up time or lose it.
Absolutely.
Candela comes forward next as we turn to Fabian Sianis. Fabian's had some nice horses here this week. This horse has got quite a lot of international experience. Patricio Pasquale rode it in the 150s at Spruce Meadows. And Fabian now coming a real regular face on the 2, 3 and 4 star tours.
If I remember correctly, he had a pretty nice round in the qualifier.
Yeah, he did.
On Thursday.
Yeah, he did.
Horse has a wonderful way of going. Albeit a bit slow. You might have to think about the time.
Time allowed.
Pretty tidy back to the wall.
Such delicate little blocks that sit on top of there. It looks solid, but it's definitely not. Whoa.
Give himself a little extra room.
And he's over. So they've got the block out the wall to give 4 jumping. 79.76 gives 1 time. Total of 5 there for Fabian Sianis. Candela staying on then. Those 6 clears at this stage. Just another couple to go and then we will take that little break to do some arena maintenance. This is Patricio Pasquale and Pomerol, 9-year-old stallion. Second ride for him and a horse that has been so consistent. He brought this as a 7-year-old, he thinks such a lot of it. Patricio Pasquale from Mexico. Didn't have the best ride with his first horse, so fingers crossed for this one. Pasquale family's very much involved with these events and promoting the sport here in Mexico.
I think they've really done a great job with this horse show, and I believe they're building a new horse show facility, is that correct?
Yeah, in Valdebravo. So hopefully there's going to be, or they plan to be, two World Cup qualifiers here next year. So it could turn into a little tour.
Absolutely, that would be exciting.
There's worse places to spend part of the winter.
Absolutely.
And there would be some time off in the middle, a little week off, so you could go to Cancun. Or go back and teach, and then come back.
This round is going much better.
Two away from home. Time's fine. Just the plank.
Heartbreak.
74-28. What a frustrating day for him. Patricio Pasquale and Pomerol. We mentioned earlier just how delicate those planks are. It doesn't take much. So with the 4, he's the second fastest of the 4 fault rounds. So that means he's heading down into 10th place at this stage. 6 clears in total, 2 for Brazil and 4 for Mexico. Juan Jose Zendias is next. Artillero. Jennifer Teague, in fact. Sharego. That's Peru.
Sheridan was clear yesterday in the 140.
Top 10 finish in Valvanera Grand Prix last November. It's a German red horse by Shackle Blue. She had to work quite hard through there.
Absolutely. She's doing a good job though. She's trying to keep the balance a little and paid for it there.
Comes down as well, so it's going to be 8 for jumping in one time. Jennifer Teague finishes on 9:79.65, and we will stay on those 6 clears at this stage. About 25 combinations still to come forward here in round number 1 of the Audi-Scappino Classic. Juan Jose Zandias this time. Back to the row. Like Abdullah Dutillard, it's his second ride. Horse that Nicola Heinross brought out for the first time a couple of years ago.
Rolled the front rail there, the Monoxer.
Juan Jose already clear with that first ride, so we'll still see him come back for that jump off a bit later. Now sits on 8. Will finish on 8, home within the time, 78.02, 8 falls for Juan Jose Zandias for Mexico. 8 falls with that one, clear with the first ride though, so again will come back for that jump off with the first horse. A little bit later on though, because we've still got about 24 to see in the first round. I'm going to hand things back over though to Guilherme Jorge and his team as they do a little bit of work on the flooring even, and we'll come back to see the remainder of that first round. At the moment though, we've got those 6 clears. Do you think we'll still see somewhere between?
I do. I think we're right on point with the 6 clear halfway through. Should be about 10 to 12 perhaps. Plenty of good horses and riders coming up in the next half.
Leslie Milford's been in touch to say hi from Philadelphia. Pat Silamaris says great round, and Caitlin Lang says great job commentating, Sarah, love you. Well, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back in just a few moments when we see the remainder of round number 1.
You're caressing and caressing me. Jai Guru Deva. Oh, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe. Jai Guru Deva. Oh, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Sounds of laughter, shades of earth are ringing through my open views, inciting and inviting me. Limitless undying love which shines around me like a million suns. It calls me on and on across the universe. Jai Guru Deva. Oh, nothing's gonna change my world. 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 Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva. Jai Guru Deva.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain.
Tenemos en la pista al primer binomio de esta.
So welcome back. We pick up the action once again with about 24 partnerships still to come forward here in round number 1. At the moment we've got 6 clears, so they will be returning for that jump off against the clock, and I think we're going to see at least 10 as things progress. Jose Antonio Vallarta now with Josefina Zed represents the home nation here of Mexico. Had a top 10 finish last week, second in Balvanera, third in Mexico City. Both those events towards the end of last year.
She is looking on point this week. She was clear on Wednesday as well. Hopefully, I'm sure he's hoping for a similar result today.
It's a horse that was bred by Margaret Ramsey in Belgium, and Margaret actually still owns the horse, although the horse is based here. That was a late follow there. We heard him knock it and I thought he might have got away with it. You don't see a lot of horses that were bred in Mexico or even bred in the US in the competitions over here. Why do you think that is? Why are we still importing so many horses from Europe?
I think it's quantity of breeding. There's so much breeding in Europe to find. I can probably name the majority of the breeders in the United States, and there's just not that many of them to then produce a top horse. And not that there haven't been some. There have been plenty, but not enough to supply what everyone's looking for.
The demand.
Exactly.
Well, clears that final fence, and again, just the one coming down. Also over that time allowed is 79 seconds. So 4 jumping, 1 time, total of 5 there in 80.25. He gets us back underway. Jose Antonio Vallarta of Mexico. Strong fields today of 51 coming forward. It's about a 21% success rate at the moment, giving us the 6 clears from those gone so far. See just final preparations underway at that gate area, and just behind that you can see the warm-up fences. Quite a decent sized warm-up arena out there, and a holding area as well.
Ahora sí, ya se encuentra listo, José Antonio Cedral con JK, por supuesto. John Perez está en la final.
Antonio Chadrawi now, JK Horse Trucks Wish. He's repeated this one at Spruce Meadows. It was bred in the Netherlands. Rode this in the Grand Prix here last week with a couple of rails down. Just had one rail with his first horse. This is his second one into the first round here of the Audi-Scappino Classic Cup. £480,000 in the prize fund. Do you know what that is in dollars?
I think it's 25.
So I was just doing a quick calculation here.
Yeah, it's 25,000. Six there.
Had to work hard for it.
Absolutely. It's the first 6 we've seen down that line. And we add here in 7.
Do you think that was a result of adding one stride in before?
I think it's hard for horses to change the rhythm that much.
Grand jury will have to decide whether he stopped moving forward. And they have decided that he did, so he's on 16 now, and in fact decides to call it a day. So Antonio Chadrawi retires with JK Horse Trucks Wish, representing Mexico. When you walk the track and you make your plan, how committed are you to that plan if you're going to go on 6 or 7? Do you have to be really fluid?
For me, I really like to stick to my plan. I don't like to change it very much, but of course things come up on course and you have to be able to be flexible.
Okay. Does that mean you're a bit of a control freak if you always like to stay to your plans? Have you ever been told that before?
I have never actually been told that.
Okay, well, we'll ask around.
Not to my face, at least.
Well, 6 clears at the moment, 21 left to come forward. John Perez now, C. Valentin. 11-year-old gelding by name Lassar. John, of course, who's been to the World Cup finals in the past. Doing really well recently, this horse. He was first and second last week in different competitions with it.
Clear on Thursday as well. John's been having a really good week here. He had a little bit of a disappointing round yesterday with the mirror, but it was great in the qualifier.
He's up through there. Corrected well. If he can get to the jump off, I think he'll be one to watch. He finished top 3 in the speed competition at Vegas. Horse that can turn quite tightly, really covers the ground. Got that behind. Fastest four-fault round at the moment, 73.81, and that still is in the money at this stage. So we'll finish on the 4 then. 74.54, John Perez, C. Valentin. We take a look at our leaderboard with the faults and with the time. He is going to slot into 12th place at this stage. So still in the money, but a long way to go.
He will be back with Utopia as well later in the class.
That's a lovely horse, Utopia.
Lovely horse.
And Carlos Alvarez now. Portas Liz, representing Mexico. his second ride. He had Premier earlier. Finished top 3 with this horse last week. Won an event with this horse on this stage last year. For riders that never travelled, it's a shame. For riders that never travelled the horses to Mexico, how difficult is it to get from the US down to here?
The flight itself is actually very easy, 3 hours and then a little bit of a truck ride to get to Guadalajara from Mexico City. They don't have an ag center in Guadalajara, so you can't ship directly here.
There isn't any quarantine or anything, is there?
Nothing. You just get off the truck. I think a vet has to inspect, and that usually takes maybe an hour. Finding a flight here for your horse is not always the easiest, but once that's arranged, it's really quite simple. You could always truck as well, but it's a little bit more of an involved process.
He might just be calling it a day here because, you know, he had some really good results last week, and the horseman just touched tired today. He's jumped quite hard all week and then last week as well, and but decides to call it a day. Juan Carlos Alvarez and Portas Les from Mexico. It's a little bit like what you were saying earlier. It really depends on the horse, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and the way that he's padding it, he knows it's a very good horse, and today's just not his day.
Sergio Agustin, Algarasterta, next to go with Duncan. Horse's name much easier than the rider's name. Love this horse's name. It's a 10-year-old kid at WPN by Wallenberg. Been jumping together for a couple of years now. Forward pace.
Just a little far away.
Finding it really difficult just to bring it back to that nice rhythm that he needs. So if this was your horse, what would you do when you took it home? Is there any exercises that you would use? Get you on the spot.
Yeah, truly. It's hard to tell off of one round. I think it tries really hard when it gets to the jumps, but maybe needs some work on its mouth.
Well, finishes on the floor, 75.52. That's the time. It's 4 faults there for Sergio and Duncan. You'll find it's the easiest place to ride is up here.
Absolutely.
So let's stay on those 6 clears then. 19% of those coming forward have stayed clear. A couple of nations represented in the jump off. We've got Brazil and Mexico going through. Antonio Maurer now with Haskos, another representative of the home nation. It's his second ride in this one. It's an 11-year-old. Stefan Carson used to ride this one. It's only about his second show with this horse. Do you find when you get on new horses that you almost compare them to ones that you've ridden in the past?
Always.
It's a bit like this one or a bit like that
Every
one.
time. Especially when you've had a really good one.
Absolutely. You're always looking for that feeling.
Always.
Until then, it was going really nicely.
Really nice. I quite like the horse. I'm sure he's going to have a successful future with it.
Yeah, Antonio's produced lots of nice horses over the years. Just has that one down today, so finishes on 76.41. 4 faults there from Mexico's Antonio Maurer and Haskos. Recap of the clears: Rodrigo Lambre for Brazil, Juan Jose Zendias of Mexico, Francois Estevez of Brazil, and then also representing Mexico, Juan Carlos Martin del Campo, Arturo Navarro, and Eduardo Sanchez Navarro. That's our clears at this stage of play. Plenty more to see, though. About another 17, in fact, still to come here in round number 1. Arturo Parada comes back with another horse. This is Constar. They won together in Mexico City at the end of last year. He's used this for Nations Cups. He's 4th in the Grand Prix here last week as well.
It's really jumping well today. He's coming out of the turn on the cross canter.
Those that are new to the sport, what is a cross canter?
When the horse is cantering, it should be leading with it's a 3-beat gait, and sometimes the horse can be on one behind, one lead, and different lead in front. Especially in a tight turn, it can throw them off balance a little bit, so they just shift in the air.
If you land in a canter like that, what can you do to fix it?
Usually the horse will fix it itself. It's a little bit uncomfortable for the horse to be in the cross canter. If you just sit out a little, a lot of times it'll catch up behind, give a little half halt. Some horses it doesn't bother at all. I have one horse that will go in the cross canter most of the time.
Well, jump to nice round, takes a rail down, finishes on 77 seconds there. Arturo Parada and Constar representing Mexico. Still think we're going to see another few clears, though. Remaining on the 6 at this stage.
If anyone can do it, it's Federico.
Oh, absolutely. This horse is always feeling fresh at the moment for some reason. Federico Fernandez now with the 9-year-old by Berlin VIP. Saw him with Pegaso earlier. It's a horse they took to Europe last year, and his wife, Paula Amalibia, rode it there, and also Keen O'Connor sat on it at a few shows as well. Don't want to jinx it, but it has been ultra consistent recently. It's a naturally forward horse. Of time. Moving forward all the way round.
Just a big shift in the air.
And jumps the last. So it is the penultimate that comes down. He finishes on 4, 74.28. Federico Fernandez and VIP. An identical time to Patricio Pascual, so goes into joint 10th at the moment on the 4 faults. Where does that shift come from? Does that come from the corner or the takeoff?
A lot of times the pushing leg is the outside hind when they're cantering, and when you come off a tight turn, a lot of times they'll overpower with that and shift to the inside really hard, and I think the horse just misjudged behind.
Let's move on to Shakaba now. Francisco Mendoza for Mexico. It's been an interesting one because he went really well in Mexico City at the end of last year with this horse, but then last week had a couple of rails.
Starting right. Oh, see the big shift again. As they go sideways across the oxer, it greatly lengthens the width of the oxer, and I think the horse just misjudges them. Hands down.
Fastest of the 4 falters at the moment, 73.81 behind the 6 clear, and the 2 that sit on 1-time fault. So it's 2 down in the end. He finishes on 8 jumping, 1-time fault as well though. 79.73, time allowed in this one, 79 seconds. So it's 9 there for Francisco Mendoza and Shakaba for Mexico. Juan Manuel Lizardo now with Guidandro. The one that was competing here last week. Top 10 finishes at Mexico. Had some really good rounds at Spruce Meadows with this horse last summer, finishing in the top 6 on 2 occasions. 10-year-old by quality. It's a superstar. Rupture combination. With Glamy's courses, even if it's not a related distance, a lot of the lines are connected from fence to fence.
Yeah, he has a plan, whether you as a rider realize it or not.
Absolutely.
This horse is reading him so well.
Yeah, clears the last super round there. 74.24 on Manuel Luxardo. Quindandro earns a place in that jump off against the clock, representing Uruguay. So we had another nation into our jump off list. We're up to 7. 7 clear, 2 on a time fault, and lots just having 1 down today. Alberto Sanchez Cazar now with WAP. Had a win here last week. A win towards the end of last November in Balvanera. Jumped really well in the Grand Prix at Mexico as well last November too. On to Alberto Sanchez Cazar and WAP for Mexico. Another good horse name. If any of your horses have really complicated names?
Not at all.
Do you avoid them?
Not intentionally. Just some basic named horses. I've named quite a few of them. I think when they come from Europe and they're the Van Het, they can get quite extravagant. But But in Mexico, we're finding that the riders have longer names than the horses
Absolutely.
more often than not. She's putting up a good effort here.
Smooth through this turn. Rides really hard over the wall with 2 left. And jumps that last. 71-71. It's clear for Alberto Sanchez Quasar and WAP. Not that it means anything, but he's the fastest of the clears in this first round. Might be an indication of what's going to happen when we get to the jump off. We'll wait and see.
You can tell that mare is very experienced. Definitely knows what's expected of her.
There's another experienced one coming next. Pekin St. Denis, the 15-year-old stallion, Lorenzo Faro, rides for Mexico. Shoot another horse a little bit earlier, now comes back with this one. He's represented her country at Nations Cup level before. A regular at Spruce Meadows during their summer series. Hangs through the air slightly.
Amazing all of her horses go the same way. I love the way that she rides.
She can afford to sit nice and quiet. They just seem to stay in that rhythm for her.
I always say a horse jumps the best out of the same rhythm all the time. The horses are proof of that.
Round towards the final line. Just a touch to the outside, straightens up through the distance. Clears the last. 74.17, congratulations there to Lorenzo Farrell of Mexico. We're up to 9, and we've got 12 left to come. Exciting jump off to look forward to here this afternoon, though, as things progress. You can see Hector Caro there. Just having a good look round. I know most riders like a late draw, but he did walk the track a while ago. Do you find if you've got a late draw, you need to just remind yourself when you come in?
Sometimes, actually, yes. I like to sit and go over it. Hector and Craig won the 140 on Thursday.
Down.
It's a tricky line there. We've seen 6 and 7.
I think he came down on 7, didn't he?
I think he did as well. Still got just a pinch flat on the out. You really have to know your horse to make that decision.
When it comes to riding through the doubles and the combinations, does it change depending on whether it's vertical to vertical or vertical to oxer?
I think so. I think a vertical ride's more careful. That depends on your horse always.
So you need a bit more power coming out if it's an oxer?
Yeah, a lot of riders I think will choose the add into the double verticals if it's a little bit of a forward line.
Well, really nice horse. It is for jumping. Just a touch too steady as well, so picks up a time fault here in the first round. That means it's 5 there for Hector Cargo. It's 79.57 the time, and we'll finish on a total of 5. Getting down to the final 10 or 11 here in the first round. Then we'll take a look at that jump off track. It is Eduardo Sanchez Navarro back with his second ride, Pacifico.
So we're on 9 clear? Yes.
9 clear at this stage. He's already clear, so he's one of those 9. Class of 50, you go early and you're clear. Do you pop your horse away or do you keep it out? Or?
I put my horse away.
Fully untack?
Yeah, fully untack. Let him get some water, go to the bathroom.
Sits on 4 at this stage. Oh. What do you think happened there? Just didn't lock on?
I think the way that he was riding it led me to believe that he anticipated a small problem. He really tried to push the horse at it, so maybe she comes off a little spooky or...
That's a shame. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro already clear with his first ride, but with Pacifico he finishes on 13 in 98.65, so out of contention for this one today. Getting down though to the final 10. Nicola Heinross waiting in the wings and about to get underway. Shazano. That represents Denmark, but very much based in Mexico these days. Working with the Pascal family as their trainer. String at the moment. He's got this one, he's got one called Convoy as well. Just finished top 10 in the Grand Prix here last week though. You get to your level, are you still working with a coach quite a lot, or is it really just eyes on the ground now?
I work with Jamie Millette every day. I think no matter where you are in the sport, you definitely need someone on the ground.
Do you still like to have Jamie there when you walk the course?
Always, yeah.
Do you ever argue?
It has happened before, yes.
But of course you're always right.
Always, yeah, every time.
I'm sure he'd agree. job, but gets away with it, I think. And jumps the last. Yeah, the penultimate stays up. So 77.09 for Nicola Heinross of Denmark. Shazano jumps clear in round number 1. We're up to the 10. I'm going with 12 clears now, I think. I think we'll still see another couple.
I think so too.
Moving on to Alfonso Roma Garza now with Reforma Lucia. 10-year-old mare. Finished 8th here last week. She also took to Balvanera at the end of last year. It's also how she's ridden on the European circuit as well. Now we've had a chance to watch a ton of them. Is the course riding as you thought it would?
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent actually.
Many faults have pretty much been all over the place.
Truly, and
that's one of the
that
places.
one a couple times, yeah.
So Alfonso takes the centre part of the combination down to sit on 4.
I think Guilherme is very good at that. Putting different things in different parts of the courses that bring out different styles of horse.
Well, he's decided to give his signal to the jury, and he's decided to retire Alfonso Roma Garza, Reforma Lucia. Yeah, fine with Guy, he always builds tests to make the riders think, but nothing that's ever going to trap the horse.
I love that. I think that's what it should be about.
Well, Luis Alejandro Plasencia comes forward next with Chartinis. It's a man a lot of people have been talking about, and I bet he was celebrating yesterday after riding to victory in the Longines FEI World Cup jumping at Guadalajara. Such a great round yesterday.
He really did a great job.
Very nice, tidy, quiet rider.
Has some super horses as well.
Definitely need all the ingredients. It's always quick against the clock, and this would really put the pressure on if he can earn a place in that jump off against the clock.
On to go.
Yeah, he has. It is 76.47. Luis Alejandro Plasencia, Chartinis for Mexico. Jump clear and bring us up to a nice round 11. 25% success rate at this stage. 7 left to come forward. You could hear the Mexican riders there kind of whistling and cheering in the back. And I have to say, they're really supportive of everybody here.
Yeah, I find the camaraderie here is amazing. Everyone seems to support everyone.
Which is nice and
Really
fairly
nice.
unique sometimes.
Agreed.
Marcelo Gallen now in Terao for Mexico. 10-year-old by Quintero. Darko lines as well. Finished top 6 here in Guadalajara last week. Top 6 in Mexico City at their last event of 2017. O'Connor's asking who's the course designer. It's Guilherme Jorge of Brazil, who was responsible for the Rio Olympics. Oh. Did so well to recover through there. I think that was good riding and a bit of luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes
He seems to know this horse really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you need a bit of luck. I feel like he knew that horse has got a forward stride, so he used a bit more room there rather than trying to cut tight back to the wall. And jumps to clear. 76.69, Marcelo Gallen into O, through to that jump off against the clock. So we're at the 12 now. Think we might see one more?
I think it's possible.
Not many left to come forward though. With that number in the jump off, they know they're really going to have to put their foot down if they want to take the lion's share of the prize fund here.
Absolutely, it's going to be an exciting jump off.
Jennifer Tate comes back with a second one. Motivo Lucia this time. Jennifer, who represents Peru. You got any favourites on that list so far, if you think might do well in the jump off?
You know, there's a lot of great riders and horses. It's, Rodrigo Lambre's had a great week. And really, could be anyone. It's hard to have to go first for him. He's going to really put the pedal to the metal knowing so many horses are coming after him.
It's an expensive line there for Jennifer. Takes the back bar off the Oxer at 4. Part of the double as well. I think I would have some money on Luis Alejandro Plasencia.
He's on a roll as well.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And because they come back in the same order as they jump clear, he's going to have a really good jump off draw. So it sits on 12 at the moment for Jennifer. Do you ever get a chance to sit and watch other riders at the show?
I find myself watching a lot. I think you can learn so much from watching.
I think watching in the warm-up as well is always interesting.
Absolutely. I encourage my students to do the same.
Comes nicely down the final line, but it's 12 jumping in 2 time. Total of 14 for Jennifer, 85.19. Do you have a set plan for each horse for your warm-up?
I do have a specific way that I warm every horse up, yes. I also warm up based on what I see on the courses, see if how every horse would react to every situation. Try to present them with it in the warm-up.
Paolo Amalibia now with Tarzan de Flandre. Paolo, who we saw quite a while ago now, actually, at the beginning of the class.
She had quite some time between her horses.
It's an 11-year-old stallion by Calvaro Zed. She jumped in Europe towards the end of last summer. See, she's left patches of hair when the horse was clipped to save from the spurs rubbing. Do you do that? Do you use a belly band?
I do not. I have never had an issue with a spur mark, but with all the regulations these days, it's almost better just to be too cautious. So that was a shame.
I don't know if you agree, but I find that chestnuts seem to have more, I don't know if sensitive skin is the right word, but they seem to get marked easier.
I agree.
73.72 is the time. She is the fastest of the four
Still out of
falters, but still out of the prize money. But she gave it a great try in there. Paola Amalibia finishes on 4. Just 3 combinations left to feature here in round number 1. And Pablo Gaspar Albanez now rides for Mexico with the 11-year-old stallion, Creativo N. Pablo a regular in the national and international circuit all over Mexico. Do you still ride nationally as well as internationally?
Absolutely. Like I said, we have a lot of kids at the barn that ride. We like to go to some of our local shows, Princeton show jumping and such, and jump the Grand Prix there is always fun with the younger horses.
Do you find the national structure in America as a good kind of grounding for the young horses and easy to produce them up to international?
I do. I think there are a lot of opportunities for developing a young horse, and with the regional standard and the national standard, it's becoming easier to know what you're going to get. Unfortunate B element there.
Just a little bit flat through the middle.
Getting a little low.
Hear a few whistles in the background, people just keeping an eye on the clock for him.
Thought he was going to retire there for a moment. Back on track.
Came really wide round to the wall. He's going to be just over the time, but decides to retire. So we'll finish on a retire roll today when Pablo Gaspar Albanez and Creativo N. I think a few people were saying, why did you retire? You were only 2 strides away from the finish. You can see just how good the spirits are. We were talking about that a bit earlier. And even though he's just retired, you know, he's still enjoying himself in the ring with the ring crew. 2 left to go. John Perez, we saw him earlier. This is a really nice horse. Very experienced as well. Now 17 years old, although you couldn't tell by watching it. It's called Utopia. John Perez for Colombia. This horse definitely doesn't act like a 17-year-old.
She does not.
Let me at them. Work really hard down there.
Set her up really well for the double vertical. He knows this horse very well.
Yeah, and he's been around the sport such a long time. Great feel. I think he might just retire this one.
Yeah, I think so. She doesn't need the experience of
No.
the schooling.
Yeah, she's been there, she's done it. She's still really enjoying her job, but John quite rightly just saving the legs for another day. And John Perez retires Utopia. Why do you think the centre part of that combination has come down quite so much?
A lot of people are coming in with just a pinch too much energy to A, and just getting a little bit flat, I think, to B. Just jumping a little bit too low in front, although we've seen both.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
seen people coming in just a pinch too slow, coming in a pinch too fast, and
well, we hear the tone in the background there, and that's for the final one to come onto the track for round number 1. Bruno Pissarro and Ursula for Argentina. 13-year-old mare by Indoctro, carrying contender lines. Last to go in round number 1. when you're walking the track for the first round, do you walk for the jump off?
I do.
You do?
Yes. Still find myself counting. I never even realized I did it until you pointed it out.
All riders do it. It's not just show jumpers as well. Dressage riders do it when they're counting the number of like tempi changes across the diagonal or
Really?
something, and they're commentating. They do exactly the same.
Have you commentated for dressage?
I have. I know my pirouette for my passage.
Would you call yourself a dressage rider?
No. No. I know just enough. But I think dressage or flat work's so important in show jumping, and there's so many cross-transferable skills from the world of dressage.
It's everything.
And I know some show jumping riders actually get the odd training session from a dressage rider.
Absolutely. I think most of them do.
You ever been tempted to go to the dark side of dressage?
I've never been tempted to convert fully, but wow, and it's clear.
Great round there from Bruno. And what a great way to finish round number 1 here. 50 combinations in total come forward into the Audi-Scappino Classic. Bruno Pissarro, Ursula will take a place in the jump off, and as they come back in the same order as they jump clear, he will come in pole position and he will be our last to go. 50 starts in total, 13 return for that jump off against the clock. You can see those clears on stage. Rodrigo Lambre, Juan Jose Zandias, Francois Estevez is in there, Juan Carlos Martin del Campo, Arturo Navarro, Eduardo Sanchez is in there as well. It's going to be such an exciting jump off with some really good ones coming right to the end. We've got Juan Manuel Luxardo, Lorenzo Faro's always quick, Luis Alejandro Plasencia, who has been on flying form this week with a great international win yesterday, Marcelo Gallan, Bruno Pissarro, Kelly Rose, Paulo Amalibia, Juan Carlos Alvarez, and Patricio Pasquale heading in there, of course, to the lower placings now, as you can see that result on screen. And so many of them having an unlucky rail today. Well, our course designer just getting underway with his team, building us up for that jump off against the clock. And we'll take a short break. We'll be right back to look at that jump off course in just a couple of minutes' time. Well, the stage is set. We're getting ready for our jump off against the clock here in the Audi-Scappino Classic Cup. We can see the start list. That's the order that they're going to be coming back. They stay in the same order as they jump clear. Rodrigo Lambre's in there, Francois Estevez, Eduardo Sanchez, Juan Manuel Lizardo. And as they come towards the end, we've got some really quick ones as well. Lorenzo Farrell, always quick against the ground. Luis Alejandro Plasencia got to be one of the favourites as well. And Bruno Pissarro will be coming in pole position as our last to go. In fact, we've got one more, because they must have jumped out of order. And actually, although they come back in the same order as they jump clear, under international rules, if they are allowed to move up or down the order, maybe a tack issue or whatever, then they have to go back into that order when we return for the jump off against the clock. Anyway, down to business. It is time for that jump off, and Rodrigo Lambre, Remits Delphi, will be getting us underway. We'll take a look at that jump off track as well as they come on track. They're actually starting over what was the second part of a double in the first round, the FEM fence. That gets them underway. Now as they land there, they're going to be coming round to fence 6, so that right-handed leg, and then they're going to come left-handed as they roll back round towards the vertical at fence number 7. That comes down though. Bit of room to push on and gallop down towards 8B. One stride out over 8C, the Oxer. From here, just 3 efforts left. That's fence number 9. And they're going to be coming to 2 new fences that we didn't see in the first round. It's fence number 15, the maiden Scappino Oxer, and then left-handed down the dog leg. It's quite a delicate pink upright to finish. Gives that a rub, gets away with it, and it is just the 4. 35.74 the time for our first to go. Quite a nice jump off track. Lots of room for them to make turns and push on. And Juan Jose Zendias now with just nice. Van Het Idahoff, this is a 9-year-old mare. So once you've made your plan for the jump off, does it ever change?
Absolutely, based on watching whoever went before you, or realizing whoever is going now behind you.
It's down.
I find that it's so hard to go early in the jump off because you want to be fast, you want to be tidy, you want to make sure that the people behind you can't catch you.
Down to this last fence. Time-wise, slightly steadier as well. 38.14. One comes down and finishes on 4. So 11 partnerships still to come forward. 11 more to see. Francois Estevez, Florentino for Brazil.
I loved the source in the first round. It is a little bit extravagant in the air, so we'll have to see if he can make up for that time-wise across the ground.
With it being an 8-year-old, could that just be an age thing?
It could be, for sure. Over jumping a little bit. It's also telling him his technique. Yeah, it's designed for classes. Really big.
He'll have made the decision just how much to push it because it is only 8 years old.
A little tidier there. Just as also back.
So far.
Lost a stirrup, got back. It's amazing how often that actually happens.
It's down towards the final fence. Could this be our first double clear? Jumps the last, and it is 40.32. That becomes the time to beat. It's set by Francois Estevez, Florentino for Brazil. I think that's such an exciting prospect for him.
Truly, what a nice horse.
So that gives them something to chase. 40.32. Bit of interest as well as he landed out of the double, or what was a combination in the first round. He landed there in about 21 seconds. So that'll give us an idea of how they're doing when they get there. Juan Carlos Martin del Campo comes forward. Paddington. You seen the film Paddington Bear?
It's been a long time.
There's a new one.
Is there?
There is. You need to get out more. So he's got that time to chase now. 40.32 out of 8BC in 21 seconds. If you're second or third in the jump off and you don't get a chance to watch, do you tend to have someone there that is watching and can let you know?
Always, yes.
Got spies. As he lands out of this double here, he wants to be on about 21 seconds. He is up on the clock. Not too much in it though. I think you can make up or lose a lot of time in that rollback.
Absolutely, but he's doing a great job.
It's a super round so far. 40.32 to beat. Jumps the last. This is going to be much faster. 35.59. You see the air hook. We can hear the crowd in the background. And we have a brand new leader. Juan Carlos Martin Del Campo and Paddington head straight up to the top. Do you think he's left any doors open?
I think it's possible. She's a big moving there. He had to half vault here and there a little bit.
Certainly adds the pressure on though.
Certainly does.
Eduardo Sanchez Navarro now. Sicanta for Mexico.
They're definitely going to have to take some risks if they want to beat that.
So I think we're about 19.5 now as we come out of 8C. Lots of scope, nice tight turn there. Lots of whistling going on in the background.
The crowd is very enthusiastic.
I think he's in touch. It's 35.59 to beat. Oh. Still whistling, we're saying, come on, you're going to be the fastest four, but not now. He takes another one down. He sits on 8, jumps the last, and will finish on 8 faults. 35.56. He caught the time by 300ths of a second. It does take 2 rails and finishes on 8 faults. Eduardo Sanchez Navarro, Sicanta. Do you ever practice jump off turns at home?
Here and there. Not as often as maybe I should.
Okay. Work on that.
Yeah.
So we've seen 5 so far. 2 clears, 2 on 4, 1 on 8. The fastest though at the top, 35.59 on Manuel Lizardo. Guidandro next to go. Represents Uruguay. How do you do under pressure?
Based on my results this week, pretty well.
Those that have missed it, Sarah was riding in the World Cup qualifier here this week. With some great rounds. He said an early rail, she's going to be thinking about the time. The fastest 4 faulters, 35.74. Could be a bit behind that. Will finish on 4 though. Let's have a look at the time. 38.99. Slowest of the 3-4 fault rounds that we've seen so far. Still just finishing on 4. Martin Del Campo sitting up at the top. Francois Estevez and Rodrigo Lambri making up the top 3. Mexico at the top. Brazil sitting in second. And in third place at this stage. When Manuel Lizardo he's had so many nice horses over the years. takes down that upright, finishes on 4. Comes down towards the last on 8.
I believe this is
38.17 finishes on 8. Yeah, I think this is one Manuel Lizardo, which means the last one was Eduardo Sanchez Navarro. But he finishes on 8, 38.17 for Manuel Lizardo and Quidandro. 6 combinations left to come forward. It's a 15-year-old mare called WUP coming next.
This is one of my favorites.
Alberto Sanchez Guizar rides. What is it you like about this one?
She really looks like she knows her job. She's looking for the next fence. She has a very classical technique, up and over, not extravagant. I think he is on a good mount for this jump off.
Really quick one still to come towards the end. Nicola Heinross, Marcelo Gallen, Luis Alejandro Plasencia. Definitely not over.
Starting quite bold here. Too bold.
That comes down as well. Has to turn across the fence. So sits on 8. Couple left to go. So those that have come through will take some prize money though, so let's find out where he's going to rank on 8 faults. 35.66 is the time there. So from those on 8, we've got 3 of them, and he is the second fastest. So he heads into 7th at the moment. Quick recap of the leaderboard. Juan Carlos Martin del Campo sitting at the top. Francois Estevez is second. Rodrigo Lambre in 3rd. 2 clears though, 3 on 4, and now 3 on 8. Lorenzo Farrell's next to go. Pekin St. Denis, 15-year-old stallion. Represents Mexico. Normally quick across the ground, this horse. See what she chooses to do with this one. Deep to the outside. So it's not like this horse. Normally it's much faster across the ground and she encourages it to move forward, but it's not like that from the last time I see, but I think the difficulty is sometimes you don't see them in months in between and you don't know what's happened at home and happened at events you've not seen them at. It kind of felt like she had a plan when she came in today because she rode it so quietly.
Absolutely.
Finished on 28, 59.87 there for Lorenzo Farrell, representing Mexico.
12 puntos. 16 por exceso de tiempo, totalizan 28 para Claudia Lorenzo Farrell y
35.59 still the time to beat. I thought about 19.5 as they come out of 8C. Nicola Heinross now represents Denmark, based here in Mexico though. Shazano, the 10-year-old by Chaco Blue.
This is another one that's extravagant in the air. Jumps a little bit high. See what he does with it.
It looks like he's got a plan in here today as well.
He did 2 more than most of the last riders.
The horse that does hang in the air, is there anything you can do to help that?
You just have to play on a smoother track. Be a little bit tidier through the turns.
For them today, it was very much a sort of schooling round almost.
Absolutely.
Finishes on 43.37 the time for Nicola Heinross of Denmark. Shazano is the slowest of the fours, so it takes him into 6th place at the moment.
I think we'll see that horse doing some really big things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice horse. Luis Alejandro Plasencia, he's well horsed as well. And Sharon Sinnis, the 9-year-old by Chaco Blue. He's had a fabulous weekend. And this was my pick. Hopefully it won't jinx him.
This horse is so quick across the jump in the air. Such a classic technique. Ah.
So fastest of the 4 falters is 35.74. Maybe a little bit slower than that. Jumps the last, finishes on 4, 38.13 the time for Luis Alejandro Plasencia and Charatinas. I wonder if Juan Carlos has done enough. We've got 3 left to go. Certainly added pressure on. 35.59 to beat. Marcelo Gallen then, about to get underway with his ride in this one. And Terra O, the 10-year-old from Mexico.
Balance there beautifully.
19.5 as he comes out of his double here. And he's in with a shot. Oh.
That was a shame.
So now we look back to the fastest of the 4s on 35.74. That would be good enough for 3rd at this stage, but the wheels have come off a little bit. Comes down to the last, and we can see those time faults ticking up as well. In the end, it will be a total of 20 for Marcelo Gallen and Terra O, 55.05 and 20 the total. Do feel for him because he set off so well. He was in touch out of the double. Show jumping can be such a leveler sometimes.
Absolutely.
2 left then. Bruno Pizarro's next for Argentina. Ursula DFG. 15-year-old mare by Indoctro. 35.59 to beat. Think we've seen our winner yet?
I don't know. It's going to be hard to beat him.
Very political answer there.
I think we're going to be behind the time here.
Rail down. So sits on 4 now.
1 to go. It's really looking good. for Juan Carlos and Paddington.
Comes up down to the last. We're going to have a look at the time because quite a few on 4 faults. Let's see where this one's going to end up. Finishes on 4:39.44 and second slowest to the 4 fault round, so that goes in 7th. Guaranteed to finish top 8 though. Remember, we've had 50 in the first round to finish in the top 8. It's not too bad really.
And there it is.
The last one has just confirmed as a withdrawal, so we can draw that full result then. As we say, congratulations to Juan Carlos Martin del Campo. He does take the win today. 35.59 was the winning time. One other double clear, almost 5 seconds slower. Francois Estevez for Brazil will take second, and Rodrigo Lambre finishing in 3rd place. Lots of them finishing on 4. Luis Alejandro Plasencia at the fastest of those. Well, there it is then, the Audi-Scappino Classic Cup for 2018. The closing competition here as well, and it's been a great few days, Sarah.
It really has. What a nice horse show. Everyone should be thrilled.
Will you be back next year?
I would like to.
And if you don't, you can come and commentate.
Okay.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed the coverage as much as we've enjoyed it here over the last few days here. This is the Audi-Scappino Classic at the 4-star here in Guadalajara, and we'll see you back here very, very soon.
Nos harán el honor de premiar este clásico el señor Javier Álvarez Bermejillo, presidente del Consejo Directivo de Guadalajara Country Club, el señor Jorge López de Lara, miembro del Consejo Constructivo del Guadalajara Jockey Club, Country Club, y el señor Salomón Chidán Charur, consejero del hípico del Guadalajara Country Club.